Morgan, are you surprised to hear this coming at this particular point?
Hey, Lisa.
Hey.
I am not surprised at all. This has been coming now for a while. It was expected that he was going to drop out of the race. We were hearing before October 1st. Now, in this video, he sat down with his mother. This video was released at 1 p.m. announcing that he's dropping out of the race. And he first talked about the successes of his administration before pivoting to say that he's suspending his campaign. So he blamed this on New Yorkers who are skeptical of him because of his now dropped criminal case, saying that he was unfairly persecuted, but understands that New Yorkers are still hesitant. He was charged in a 5-count indictment, including bribery and fraud, last September, and he did plead not guilty, but he was accused of soliciting illegal campaign donations. Now, he also blamed the Campaign Finance Board for not giving him public matching funds. They have requested his campaign turn over documents related to that now dropped criminal case, and he has so far refused. Now, other of his allies were also caught up in investigations, as you remember, last year, and he's been facing a lot of pressure to drop out of the race from both President Donald Trump, some of his allies, and just other Democratic leaders even, who say that having a 4-way race will make it easier for Zora Mamdani, to win the mayoral race. And many people are hoping that having a one-on-one matchup between Andrew Cuomo and Mamdani, polls showing right now that race is much tighter. So they are hoping that having Adams drop out will help Cuomo's chances. But that doesn't necessarily mean it will, because it's not really sure. We're not sure at this point where some of these votes are going to go. Now, Adams is polling at about 7%, 7 to 9% right now, and his name will still remain on the ballot. It's too late to remove his name off the ballot. So it's unclear if all of those votes would go to Cuomo. That's pretty unlikely. There's going to be some of those votes that goes to Lewa, and there's some of those votes that are even going to go to Mamdani. And then some of those people just also maybe aren't going to vote. So the race, I'll be very interested at least to see the next poll to see how Adams dropping out affects it.
And Morgan, he's been under so much pressure, almost daily about these rumors about why he should get out. One reason or another, there seemed to be no shortage of reasons that people had for encouraging him to step out of this race. But was there something that was a tipping factor at this point? Like, why now? Yesterday, he was tweeting, he was tweeting on his X account that he was in it for the long haul. People keep putting me down and saying I should drop out, but I'm in this all the way. Anything that you think or have seen may have been like the tipping factor here?
There has been a lot of whiplash in all of this right now. He even held a press conference on September 5th, so just a few weeks ago, insisting that he was going to be staying in the race, saying that these rumors are untrue, that he's looking around for a different job. There was talks that maybe even the Trump administration was looking at giving him an ambassadorship. However, that was kind of an issue for him since his campaign. He has a lot of legal fees. He owes his campaign money. And so he's a little bit underwater right now. So he couldn't really wait for an ambassadorship because that has to get approved by the Senate. That would take some time. So he was looking at a lot of different options. I was hearing from sources, and he was very defiant, though. And he was even blaming the media, saying that by the media printing and talking about some of these rumors that he could be dropping out of the race, that was hurting his chance. It was hurting his chance to fundraise, was hurting his chance to really run a real race. And so while many people were trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, they also looked at back earlier this year, he said that he was going to be staying in the Democratic primary, but then he ended up dropping out of the Democratic primary and running the general election. So that's something we've also been saying as we've been covering this, is that while he is saying, or he was saying that he was staying in the race, as you look at history and if you look at how he's been acting, you also have to still report that he was still considering and looking at other jobs. And now we see here, of course, that him dropping out of the race, despite, as you mentioned, Lisa, just a few days ago, insisting that he was staying in.
No, absolutely. And Morgan, there is so much for us to follow with this. Thank you. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. And of course, developments are coming into our newsroom fast and furious. We are streaming the latest live in the free Fox Local app. We'll have much more tonight on the 6 o'clock news and on My 9, and of course on the 10 o'clock news here on Fox 5. I'm Lisa Evers, and there'll be more right now on Fox Local, so stay with us there on the Fox Local app. And if you're watching us right now on Fox 5, we send you back to programming already in progress. And joining us.
This has been a Fox 5 special report.
And joining us now to discuss the announcement is someone who's been following the mayor's race very closely, Kean University Provost David Birdsell. Dr. Birdsell, thank you so much for joining us. We're also joined by our Fox 5 political reporter via phone, Morgan McKay. But David, thank you for being with us once again.
Great to be here.
When you hear this announcement, are you surprised at the timing of this?
I'm not surprised at the timing. The mayor is finally bowing to the laws of political gravity. He has been unable to get out of the low double digits and now the high single digits ever since the indictments were proffered in November of 24. Those have been withdrawn by the Trump administration and with prejudice by a court decision subsequently. So they aren't coming back, but there are plenty of other potential charges waiting in the wings. And we can't forget that this administration has had 27 people with senior roles in the administration under indictment since the first day of office. That's a heavy millstone to try to drag upstream, and he finally bowed to the reality that that wasn't going to happen in this cycle.
And his numbers were mostly, in most polls, were in the single digits. He was the last of the main four candidates. What do you think were some of the factors? Do you think the corruption, were there other factors that the electorate just did not support him, despite some of what even his critics say were his biggest achievements, like getting crime overall down?
The steady drip of indictments, his closeness to the Trump administration, his fawning appearances with Tom Homan, not a popular figure in this city, nor is the president a popular figure in this city. All of these were net drags on the campaign. If you add to that the mayor's own off again, on again, with other positions not the mayoralty, and perhaps leaving office before the end of his term. It made it very difficult, and he said as much today. He's been saying as much for a few days now. It makes it very difficult to fundraise, very difficult to execute on strategy, and indeed he hasn't had campaign events typically understood for the last 7 to 10 days. So there is a lot that suggested that this was coming, if not today, imminently. Clearly it did happen today. It's not a surprise, and it's just impossible, in my view, at this stage, to envisage a strategy that would have delivered him the mayoralty from a position now more than 35 points down from the leader of the pack.
And when you look at the electorate, this is mostly a predominantly Democratic city. People have said in the past, if you're the Democratic incumbent, you're almost a shoo-in unless you really mess up. For re-election, you should have a tremendous advantage. What do you think the corruption allegations against his administration, that these were the main factor turning people off, or that he seemed distracted by that?
Well, I think it's both of those factors. I think it's people being turned off by the steady drip of indictments and allegations of mayor's personal corruption, as well as his proximity to a very unpopular national administration that raised real questions about mayoral independence, particularly during that period of time when he was under indictment, and then the administration was moving to suspend that prosecution, but not to eliminate it. They weren't willing to do so with prejudice. That was what the court imposed later. But all of that became a huge problem for this mayor at this time. And remember, even though there is almost 7-1 registration advantage for Democrats in New York City, New York has elected Republican mayors, Rudy Giuliani, Michael Bloomberg in his first term, then twice Michael Bloomberg as an independent. So having that Democratic line is not a lock, but right now it's looking very good for Zohran Mamdani, even if, to the point that Morgan was raising just a few minutes ago, all of his 7 to 9 percentage points of the vote were to go to Andrew Cuomo at this stage. Cuomo would still be 10 to 15 points shy of where he needs to be to run a competitive race against Zohran Mamdani. And that leaves us with a question of what happens to Curtis Sliwa, and does he in fact stay in this race with his, depending on the poll, 15 to 17% of the support. That's enough right there to give this race to Mamdani.
And David, what about the campaign finance board? Because the mayor was saying that all of the talk previously that he was stepping out of that he was stepping down from running and being in this race, that it was costing him support, that he wasn't able to raise funds, but he was denied twice by the campaign finance board for matching funds. How significant was the whole money issue as well?
Well, the money issue is always extraordinarily significant, but he has only himself to blame in this regard. The big problem that the CFB had with his campaign was that they simply weren't disclosing what the campaigns are required to disclose in order to unlock that stream of dollars. New York has a very generous matching program. It means that candidates can raise $100,000 and get $800,000 in return from the city. There's no other jurisdiction in the country that matches that generously, but that was not a spigot available to the mayor, in large part because either they didn't keep the campaign records required by law in the first place, or they were unwilling to share them. So this was an own goal, a self-inflicted wound.